Are you a fellow actor struggling to figure out your type? Well, you clicked on the right video. By the end of this video, you'll have 2 ways of getting clarity on your type. If you are new here, I'm Mark St. Cyr. I'm an actor, and I've been in Oscar-nominated films like Marshall, across from Chadwick Boseman, a series regular on an Emmy-nominated Disney show, and I'm featured in the Fox Searchlight feature film The Menu. Now, back to typing ourselves. What's my type is a vital question, because if you type yourself correctly, it helps casting and the industry understand the roles you are best suited for, so that you get the right auditions and put yourself in position to book the right jobs. If you don't know your type, you find yourself going out for all sorts of different things and getting called back for none of them, which can be discouraging and leads to burnout and possibly even quitting. So a common mistake I see actors make early on in their careers when it comes to typing is that they think they can play everything. And while technically you can play anything, you are not likely to book everything when it comes to auditioning against other actors. There are roles for which you are more or less suited based off a mixture of characteristics such as your physical looks, the way you speak, how you move your body through space, and your essence. And to clarify what I mean by essence, I want you to imagine identical twins. Most people have at some point in their life had an encounter with identical twins, and at first you can't tell them apart because their physical traits are so similar, but if you spend a few days with one of them, you'll be able to pick up on the difference in energy, and pretty soon you can tell the difference between the twins even before they speak, or in a picture you can tell who is who based off the essence of the person inside the body. So that's what I mean by essence. Based on your physical look, your communication style, how you physically engage with the world, and your essence, you have a type that is more suited for certain roles and less suited for others. Here's the first method to discovering your type. A few years ago, I took a comedy intensive with Leslie Kahn, and I think she had a great way of helping people get in touch with their type. I believe she called the exercise the Fabulous Fantasy Exercise. So basically, on the first or second day of the class, she has you introduce yourself to the rest of the class with a simple, "Hi, I'm Mark St. Cyr. Hey, I'm Mark St. Cyr." You say it twice so people can get a read on your energy. And when I did it, it was on Zoom, and I would turn my camera off after I said, "Hey, I'm Mark St. Cyr." Then everybody in the class would just yell out their fabulous roles that they would love to see me play. She makes a point that they have to be fabulous. So if the role were something like a villain, you might say something like the villain who secretly wants to be loved, or the villain who's smarter than everybody else, or something like to that nature. For me, people were yelling out things like young doctor, masseuse, trust fund kid, fashion designer, seducer, prince, very good with his hands, logical best friend, womanizer, soul cycle instructor that you cannot get over. These were the things I was getting. Thank you to my peers in that class. So one of the reasons that actors yelling fabulous fantasies can go super well is that you're getting an unfiltered, honest point of view, similar to what a casting director is going to have of you. So if you're interested in that, go to the Leslie Kahn site, sign up for the Comedy Intensive. This is not sponsored. I just thought that exercise was one of the most valuable things I ever had in a class. Now, if you do this exercise with people that you know too well, they will type you as they know you, not as you appear to strangers. And B, they may change their opinion to what they think you want to hear versus how a stranger would see you. For example, if your girlfriend thinks you could play the killer on You,
I believe in love at first sight,
which is an awesome part for an actor, you might take that differently coming from your lover than you would from a fellow actor. So she may not even tell you that information, even though it's helpful, because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings or have it be perceived weird in that relationship. So I recommend having actor peers you don't know very well do it. The second way that you can assess your type can be done alone, but it does require you to get some market feedback. So here's how it works. If you've been auditioning for professional work, you go back and you look at the auditions that you've done that you've either been called back for or that you've booked. This works best if you have at least about 3 callbacks or bookings out of maybe a few dozen auditions. It can be as many auditions as you've ever had, but you want about 3 callbacks or bookings. Do not include things that your friends have cast you in. They likely cast you because they know you and they like you and believe you can do anything. This is not the same thing as a casting team who doesn't know you personally but thinks that you're right for a part that 100+ other people auditioned for. Okay, so go back and read the breakdown for each of the roles you've been called back for or booked. You're going to start to see certain words and ideas repeating. So when I did this for myself, I noticed that a lot of the characters from callbacks and bookings had the following traits in common. They were formally educated, things like the Wall Street finance bro from The Menu, or formally educated like the high school teacher of STEM in High School Musical. If sexuality was mentioned, they were not heteronormative a lot of the time. I got called back for someone who was like a crossdresser in a different era, for example. If they were Southern characters, I would often get called back because I'm from Louisiana and I can do a Southern accent. They often were characters that were kind of elevated or privileged in some way. So instead of a bartender, I'd be like a mixologist.
You must think I'm a bartender. I'm not. I'm a mixologist.
Those clues let me know what I compete for better than the other dudes who happen to be black and male and an actor in my age range, right? Not everybody is going to have that mixologist vibe to them. There are a lot of things that are in my gender race category that I'm not going to compete well for. And I know that because I don't get called back for them. And so now when I have discussions with my team, I talk about the types of roles that I notice the industry responds to me in. If this video is helpful to you, consider giving it a like so other actors and dreamers can find it as well. Now I want you to imagine a Venn diagram. On one side you have who you are really, and on the other side you have how the industry sees you. Now there are pieces of me that are on the list of my best character types that are real. For example, I was in the gifted program in my school system and I went to college, and that affects the way I communicate and even think at a base level. That's probably why I'm always in the finals for roles that are about highly educated people like Mr. Mazzaro or people from the menu. But there are things in that list that are not necessarily true for me at a base level, but they are things that I understand and deeply relate to, even though they're not exactly me. For example, my Southern accent is familiar to me because I'm from Louisiana. I don't use it on a regular basis, but I understand it. The way that you bridge yourself to things that you get called back for that are not inherently you is with your craft. So quick side note here for any of my actors of color or from any other oppressed groups. And when I say how Hollywood sees you, I don't mean to take on these roles that might feel bad or feel like you're being marginalized or oppressed or that you're the butt of a joke, right? I mean, if you give off an essence that is action hero, stop trying to go out for things that are a little bit more powerless or victim, like a Law and Order SVU, right? Or if you're kind of a small, daintier person, maybe don't try to force yourself into the action hero role. Or for myself, right, like I'm more likely to book a doctor role than I am to book a role as a mechanical car engineer. Both parties are going to like fix things with their hands, but my energy is just a little bit more like a doctor part than kind of that blue collar kind of grit energy that I think a lot of other actors portray more effortlessly than I do. So it's not to say I can't play them. It's just I'm aware that I have to use my craft a lot more, and sometimes the more you have to use your craft to bridge the gap, the more likely someone else is just going to walk in and already be that thing. So you can use your craft to bridge the gap, which I've done and booked several things that are not quite me. But yeah, it's just knowing where you show up so that you can find a way to bridge the gap into the way that the industry sees you. Once you know your type, how can you capitalize on it? Well, one key way is through headshots. And when I got this headshot, I was wearing a white shirt and I wasn't exactly sure what I was selling. And this isn't to say that a headshot in a white shirt can't work. It can. I've seen it work with multiple other actors. But in this particular shirt, the particular cut of the shirt, the fabric, it just didn't align with my essence. It almost feels like I'm wearing an undershirt and haven't gotten fully dressed. Now you compare that with headshots like this one, where I'm wearing more of a cream colored shirt that supports my skin tone, and the fabric and the cut give you a little bit more information. Just because of the long sleeve, it feels a little bit more formal, and the texture makes you feel like I'm a little bit more warm, a little bit more cozy, and a little bit more sensitive. And those feelings are more in alignment with my brand than kind of a simple V-neck white t-shirt that's a little bit more generic for me. It doesn't really align with my essence and my brand. So that's one way that knowing your type can give you an opportunity to capitalize on it and help teach people how to see you. So when you receive auditions and you say things like, oh, but this isn't me, you are likely combating how the industry sees you versus how you see yourself. And the solution is either to create a bridge to that type of role by improving your acting craft or changing your physical type so that you can adjust how the industry sees you, or producing your own self-produced projects so that people can be better educated in how to cast you. You know, when I was getting started, I produced my own web series that allowed me to create some really great footage. But that is what you're going to need in order to entice them to see where you're at. I leave the solution up to you. But that is how you can learn about your type. And that's a wrap on knowing your type. And cut! Bro, quick question. Am I your type? Who wrote that joke? I don't know, but he needs a raise. Well, technically, since we're the same person, I guess we'd only need one raise. Yeah. Let's not think too hard about it. Oh, yeah, and like and subscribe if you liked this video.